Okay, so this is the Juneau Gastineau Rotary Club on March 18th, 2021. And we're pleased to have with us today as our speakers, Ryan O'Shaughnessy, hopefully I got that right, with the Trail Mix organization. And I believe he has another person with him, Kate McWilliams. So Ryan, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to tell us what's been happening with Trail Mix.
Hi, yeah, I'm Ryan O'Shaughnessy. Thanks for having us here this morning. I'm the executive director at TrailMix. I've been in this position for about a year now, and I've been in Juneau since 2015. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk to you guys about some programming that we ran last year, some of the projects that we did, and specifically the COVID-19 Conservation Corps. Our Alaska fellow, Kate, has prepared a really awesome report on that, an impact report on that, and I'll let Kate introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Kate. I moved to Juneau in October when I started working with Trail Mix, and I'm from Bethel on the Kuskokwim. And yeah, it's been great to live in Juneau and work for this awesome organization.
Thanks, Kate. So just a little background and update about what TrailMix has been up to. I know that we've partnered with the Juneau Gastineau Rotary in the past on the trail out at the Arboretum and the Schweitzer Creek, the Richard Marriott Loop at Schweitzer Creek. So it's been great to work with you guys in the past. We definitely missed having volunteer days and working with organizations like Rotary in 2020, and we're excited to pick that back up in 2021. It's great to hear that everyone is getting vaccinated and everyone's, it really does feel like we're moving forward and really making some progress and sort of getting back to normal. So very hopeful to partner with you guys in 2021. Not having volunteer days was definitely not the only change that Trail Mix saw in 2020. When the pandemic first started, we sort of looked at our trail work and our work, and we really thought, we have an opportunity here. There's a lot of people who are out of work, and trail work is, being in the woods and sort of being socially distant is really well built for this pandemic, and to be able to meet all of these required guidelines and, still pursue our mission and be able to have this newly recognized benefit of being able to provide employment and jobs when people really, really need it. So we looked at our project on the Treadwell Ditch, which is a partnership with Juneau Community Foundation and Alaska Department of Fish and Game. And we said, we have an opportunity here. We have this funding to work on this trail. Let's bring some more people on and maybe speed up our progress a little bit on this and hire some extra folks to do some work on this trail. And we did that. Excuse me. We felt really good about that. Bringing. I think we brought 5 extra positions on for that, and in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of a drop in the bucket. But we felt really good about doing what we could. Meanwhile, at the Juneau Economic Stabilization Task Force, those folks were doing a lot of great work to come up with some ideas to stabilize Juneau's economy, support Juneau's economy through the pandemic. One of those ideas was the COVID-19 Conservation Corps that drew inspiration from the Great Depression era Civilian Conservation Corps, with the idea of putting people to work on our public recreation infrastructure, building trails, working on things like the Amalga Cabin, and supporting that. We were really excited immediately as soon as we started talking about that with Bruce Botello and the folks at Parks and Rec and Eagle Crest. We knew this was going to be an awesome program. We were seeing tons of people being on the trails, record numbers of people using trails and getting outside, and I know that for me, especially during those early days of the pandemic, our trail system was really a refuge from like the stress of everything last year. So we knew that this was going to be a great program. We knew that, you know, that increased use was going to call for more maintenance, and that this was a great way to keep up with that maintenance, continue to improve our trails, and to offer employment and meaningful employment and jobs for people when our tourism industry was so disrupted. We also knew kind of in that conceptual time that this was a really special program, and nothing like it had really been done, you know, in Alaska, nationally. This kind of like immediate shot in the arm for trails and public recreation infrastructure was sort of unprecedented. So we knew it would be really important to capture everything we were doing and report on this in a in-depth and detailed way. So one of the projects that Kate has been working on in her time at Trail Mix is developing a COVID-19 Conservation Corps Community Impact Report. And what we wanted to detail was, you know, some of the immediate impacts of the work that we did this summer, the trails that we actually worked on, and the actual work that we were able to put into our wonderful trail system. And then also some of the more intangible aspects of it, some of the, you know, addressing the employment issues in Juneau and the broader impact that investing in our trail system can have. So I'm happy to share that report with you guys. We have a presentation on, not the full report. It's pretty wordy for a Zoom presentation, but we've adapted it into slides for you guys today. I'm hoping, Kate, are you able to share your screen with that?
Let's see. Yes, let me get to our first slide here. Okay, one moment. All right, can you all see that okay?
Awesome.
Yep.
Great. So, like I said, this is, you know, an adapted version of our full impact report. And Kate, if you'll go to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the tenets of this program, Trail Mix was able to employ over 30 people as a part of this program. You know, our hiring strategy and recruitment strategy was such that, you know, we really wanted to target people who were, we needed to target people who were underemployed or unemployed or furloughed or economically affected by COVID-19. So that was our chief criteria in recruiting people to come work for this program. One of the hiccups that we saw, or not hiccups, but one of the challenges that we faced with our hiring was, you know, there wasn't a huge depth of the trail building skills. So finding crew leaders was a challenge, but, you know, working with Eagle Crest and with Parks and Rec, we were able to share some of our hiring resources and work together. Another huge tenet of this program was the job skills training and teaching people that skill set of trail building. So we were really, really excited to be able to have a budget to offer these kinds of trainings to work with folks. This program worked on 9 different trail projects around the Juneau Trail System. And people spent we spent a total of almost 20,000 hours on the COVID-19 Conservation Corps. And for scale, a typical Trail Mix season, our crew puts in about 9,000 to 10,000 hours into our trail system annually. So this was a huge project for us, and it was a massive scale up of our existing programming. Some of the work that we did was improving drainage on trails, improving tread, the actual trail surface. We did a lot of brushing and clearing, and we even built some new trail. We go to the next slide, Kate. So this is a map, sort of generally of where where our projects took place. You'll notice that a lot of our projects were sort of in the out the road area. We did do some projects in the downtown and around the Auk Bay area as well. We have a legend here about what kind of work that we did. Most of the work that we did is improving tread. I'm sure you guys all know we have a lot of really muddy trails in Juneau. So we were really excited to be able to bring gravel on the trails and harden that kind of tread surface and make those a little bit nicer for walking on. Slide. One of the trails that we worked on was the Eagle Valley Center Challenge Course. This is a partnership with SAIL, Southeast Alaska Independent Living, and CBJ. SAIL is kind of taking over management of the challenge course that Saga used to run at the Eagle Valley Center and is working to make that more accessible. So we had a lot of rotten boardwalk, planks, and that kind of step and run, as we call it. It's not very accessible for people who have mobility challenges. So we partnered with SAIL as part of the CCC to pull up that boardwalk and get rid of all of that and lay down a wide graveled surface that folks can travel on a little bit easier. Slide. We also built some new trail out at the Horse Tram Trail. I really hope everyone's had a chance to hike on this trail. It connects the Boy Scout Beach to the Amaga Meadow. So if you've been out to the new cabin, it's just a short hike away, just on the other side of the beach. We've been working on this trail for a long time, and we're really excited to be able to finish it as part of the CCC. This was another very wet area that we improved by bringing in a lot of gravel and using a material that's called geocell that sort of reinforces any gravel that we put down and cuts down the amount of gravel that that we need for really muddy areas. We think a lot about, is it cost effective to sling load all this gravel in for this area? So we're always looking for ways to stabilize trail tread without and keeping our costs as low as possible. Trail, slide please. We worked on the equestrian trail in and around the Mendenhall River. So this was kind of this is our backyard. The CBJ is kind enough to allow us to use some shop space over at the Parks and Rec facility at Diamond Park. So this was one of the training areas that we started out with. When our crews were going through their orientation and kind of learning about trail mix and trail work, this was the trail that we said, okay, let's go over here and improve this. So we did a lot of brushing on this trail, and we did a lot of drainage work too, improving some of the existing drains on it. Slide please. The Red Mill Trail, a favorite of mine. I love loops and connections. So I love going up the Perseverance system and looping back on the Red Mill Trail. The upper portion of the Red Mill Trail had gotten pretty narrow. It gets so brushy every year. And so we worked to kind of widen that tread a little bit and stabilize that bench cut. The lower portion of the trail, which is seen in the right-hand picture, has had some really serious drainage problems for years. So we were really excited to be able to get in there and improve that trail and keep the water off of the trail and keep it from further eroding. Slide, please. The Granite Creek Trail, another personal favorite of mine. If you've been up there recently, I'm sure you've seen this work. State Parks a couple of years ago, in anticipation for a grant that didn't end up panning out, moved a bunch of material up there. So they moved some super sacks full of gravel and some bundles of lumber. And we thought, hey, the material's already there. This is a great chance to put it to work instead of just kind of letting that wood sit there and rot without even being used on the trail. So we're really excited to solve some drainage issues, put some gravel down and build some boardwalk on the Granite Creek Trail. So some of the, like I said earlier, one of the big tenets of this program was workforce development and job skills training. So we did all this work on these trails and it was great, but we did have to teach a lot of the skill set of trail building and trail assessment. So we reached out to some experts. We called Mike Shields, who has been building trails, I think since the late 50s, starting in North Cascades National Park and Olympic National Park. Mike came down from Wasilla to do a sustainable trail design course. So he spoke to different kinds of soil mechanics and different trail layout techniques in different terrains. It was really, really informative. Mike also did a safe rigging practices workshop for us. So we were really excited to be able to learn from Mike and sort of download his knowledge into a new generation of trail builders. We're really, really thankful for him. We also provided first aid training for our crews. This was a huge one. We knew that this kind of scale up could lead to injuries, and that's always a risk, but with this many more people in the field, we knew it was a very real possibility, and that we had to get this Wilderness Advanced First Aid training on board as soon as possible. So we're really excited to be able to have that 40-hour curriculum from the NOLS instructors. We also worked with Peter Cross, formerly of the Forest Service here in Juneau, to do some chainsaw training, to work with, to do some education about mechanical advantage and some of the tools of the trade. Slide, please. There's just some photos of the training portions of our program. Slide.
Right, and now I can get into kind of the economic side of things. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, so all of those trail improvements and kind of what Ryan just covered was all covered or made possible by the CCC grant, which was twice the amount of funding of TrailMix's typical budget, which is made up of a capital improvements project allocation and funding from Parks and Rec. And every year, TrailMix's request, and TrailMix and Parks and Rec, the request for funding for trail work is about 100,000 more than what is allocated. So we start out each year at a deficit of funding for trail work. And this leads to kind of a Band-Aid approach to trail work, kind of fixing up trails that are already at some state of deterioration. And so the CCC allowed us to demonstrate that it's more cost effective and safer and more sustainable to do proactive maintenance. And this was kind of just one added benefit to this employment program. And that was something that was very unique about the CCC, is that it was, the federally approved purpose of it was an employment program, but it had all these added benefits because trails and outdoor recreation is such a multi-dimensional field. And so another one of these added benefits is that with the workforce development aspect, crew members were able to gain skills that are applicable to a variety of trades, such as first aid and using heavy equipment. And also there was a strong emphasis on leadership and communication on the trail crews. So this graphic kind of shows the way that funding flowed through Trail Mix and into the local economy, and created these like very awesome broader impacts. For example, Trail Mix, or 252,000 of the funding that we got for the CCC was passed on to local employees in the form of paychecks, and that's over half of the grant funding. We also spent 18,000 on training to build the local workforce. And then of course, these things, the improvements that we made boost our tourist infrastructure, as well as infrastructure that residents benefit from year round, and that makes, that enhances these trails that, you know, people kind of credit their, you know, their active lifestyle in Juneau too. So the total program budget was 460,000, and the average, or the length or duration of the program was June through December, which is longer than most trail seasons. But with this added funding, we were able to keep crews on until there was snow on the ground. And actually towards the end of the season, crews were out there shoveling snow so that they could lay down gravel. Yeah, so we had 31 crew members that were part of the, or funded by the CCC. And the average wage was $27.12 an hour, but this varied based on if you were a crew leader or a crew member. And 91% of payroll expenditures ended up in crew members' paychecks. And we emphasized, you know, with the recruiting process, we weren't looking for necessarily like previous experience in trail work, but more a willingness to learn. And so that allowed Trail Mix to hire a diverse group of trail members, which is also really important for economic impact, because, you know, you're spreading this money to, you know, a more diverse group in the population. 75% of non-payroll expenditures supported local businesses. So these were, you know, supply stores, or I think the helicopters were among the local businesses. They helped airlift gravel to some of the trail sites, which was really cool. And so this kind of brings us to like the ultimate question, like, why do we invest in trails, and why is it so important to invest in trails? And we're going to focus on, or I'm going to focus on talking about the sustainable economic development aspect. And kind of through talking to other statewide organizations and looking at a lot of different studies, we can see that Alaska's outdoor recreation industry is booming despite being underfunded. And Juneau is in this excellent position to take advantage, or not take advantage, but to build this robust, sustainable outdoor recreation economy because of, you know, the location that we're in, and, you know, the beautiful landscape that we're so lucky to be able to live on. And trails are at the heart of building this sustainable outdoor economy. And so in 2021, we are expecting an increase of independent tourists, you know, because cruises won't be coming up from the lower 48. And so we know that independent travelers contribute so much more than cruise ship tourists to the local economy. And so our strategy is thinking, how can we make or persuade tourists to stay one more day, and then one more day, and another day. And part of that is having this safe, accessible, and varied trail system, a world-class trail system. Yeah.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, I think that thinking about Juneau and our trails and how does that relate to tourism, and yeah, we are so lucky to live here and in such a beautiful place. And I think that our trail system is a key way for travelers and tourists to come here and experience that. So I agree, it is very important to have a safe and varied trail system. So just real quick, our self plug, and then I want to hear from you guys and hear what kinds of projects Rotary might be interested in working on. But getting involved with TrailMix is super easy. You can stay in touch with what we're doing by following us on social media, becoming a member. I know a lot of you guys are members, so I'm preaching to the choir here. But you can sign up for our newsletters, our email updates. Social media is a great way to stay in touch with us. And we're really excited to work with you guys and hopefully set up some volunteer events for 2021. We've got some protocols in place to mitigate COVID risk. It's really exciting that folks are getting vaccinated and that everything's going so smoothly at the vaccination clinics. So thanks a lot. That's our presentation on our COVID-19 Conservation Corps. Kate, if you want to stop sharing your screen, we can go to the gallery view. And I'm really excited to hear from you guys and hear what kinds of projects Rotary is interested in. We've had some great partnerships in the past. So yeah, with that, I'll open it up for questions, comments, and concerns.
Thanks, Ryan and Kate. That was a great presentation. We had been hearing a lot about TrailMix in last summer and the work that had been being done. It's really great to see the numbers and how it really influences the economy. And so one of the things I'm going to remember about this pandemic is the increase in infrastructure on the trails, and just myself personally getting out every day for a while. It's been just fantastic. And so one question I have for you guys is, we're not out of the woods yet. As much as we're all getting vaccines, this summer is going to be a tough one for Juneau. We're not going to have the cruise ship passengers again. We're looking at some hurdles to get over. Is there an opportunity? Was this a one-time grant? Is there an opportunity to get something like this again? Can we replicate this program and have another summer of increased trail activity?
That's a great question, Dan. Thank you for asking it. I'm really optimistic that we can replicate this program. And with the recent passing of the American Rescue Plan legislation, I'm optimistic that this will run again. And if there's, I think one indication that there's a need for it, we're currently in the process of hiring our field staff for 2021. We're hiring for a regular field season. We'll hire 3 field crews. With our returning staff from last year, we only have about 7 new positions. We received 109 applications for those 7 positions. So there's clearly a need for employment. I think there's clearly interest. And like you said, we're not out of the woods yet. And our trail system is still seeing a huge increase in use.
John to you.
Yeah, Ryan, I want to say thank you very much to you and to Kate, but particularly to you for all the work that you've done on the trails. And I'm a real fan, of course, of Treadwell Ditch, living downtown and use it an awful lot. And I just wanted to know if you could follow up with just a little more about how much of the ditch is done, where are we at, how many bridges are going in this year, and so on, just to give an update on that, and what maybe something about where some of the new entrances are going to be to the ditch.
Yeah, thanks, John. We've been, the Treadwell Ditch is certainly quite a legacy project at TrailMix and for Juneau. It's a really unique resource, being as long as it is and relatively flat. We don't have a lot of trails like that. So we've been working, moving north. We've improved the closer to Douglas portions, and we've improve the trail all the way up to Falls Creek, which is pretty close to the Bonnie Brae neighborhood. So traveling north from the Blueberry Hills access, we're closer to Bonnie Brae now than we are to the Blueberry Hills snow machine access. Last year, we installed 9 bridges over historic drainage features on the ditch. This year, we're going to be installing 4. One of those is on Nielsen Creek, which, if you've hiked the ditch, is commonly referred to as the one with a rope. It is really steep sides, and somebody tied a rope to a tree, and people kind of scramble up there. Right now, it's definitely the largest barrier to hiking the entire ditch. So we're really excited to get that bridge in. It's going to be a huge project. It's around 48 feet, and the span is about 48 feet on that bridge. Looking forward to access points. Our wonderful volunteer cadre, I'm sure some of you guys know Mark Skolton and Dave Haas, and the volunteer team that they run up on the Treadwell Ditch. Built the Emerson Spur Trail, and they finished that early last year. So we're really excited to have that new access. We're also looking forward to improving the Bonnie Brae Trail. We've submitted a proposal for the Great American Outdoors Act in partnership with Juneau Ranger District to improve that. We're hoping that work will take place in 2022. But that is still under national review. That proposal is being reviewed by the Washington, D.C. office of the Forest Service. So that's my 90-second update on the Treadwell Ditch.
Thank you.
Julie?
So, thank you for this presentation. This is awesome. And, you know, of course, we all love the trails around here. I have a question on the maps of the trails. I have a Juneau Trails and Hikes book, but it's pretty old. I'm not sure if you guys publish it or if there's a new one coming out. I'm sure that it would, you know, some things would change, like on the, you know, the difficulty of them as the trails are getting improved. They're not as difficult as they may used to be.
Yeah, so there's a few different resources. The Juneau Area Trails Guide is a map that the Forest Service publishes. Excuse me. You can pick that up at the Juneau Ranger District or at Hearthside Books. And that was updated in 2018. I don't believe there's a current effort to republish that. Another awesome resource is 90 Short Walks in Juneau, which is a book that's published by Mary Lou King, and her daughter helps her out with that now. But that is in partnership with TrailMix. We help do some of the research and update that. I think the most recent 90 Short Walks is the 7th edition, which was published in 2016. I know that Mary Lou does want to publish another one soon, but I think it's a lot of work for her. So I'm hoping that in the next year or so we can help her get the things that she needs to publish that and get that out. I see Amy with her hand up.
Yeah, I would just second what Julie's saying. I mean, with all these improvements, it's hard to keep up. And, you know, Horse Tram Trail, I don't even know where the entrance is. And you described it a little bit, but it's just, you know, we want to get out there, but we don't really know. I know that sometimes the Travel Juneau has helped with little maps for tourists, you know, at the very least, those could be maybe put online in PDF form or something so that both locals and tourists can kind of know where these trails are, because that's kind of important for us to be able to get the latest information. So I think that would be a great idea, but I'm excited to hear you have so much going on. I love seeing the guys on the Treadwell because I hike up there often myself, and kudos for all you're doing. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, any other questions?
Well, I would like to invite Ryan and Kate to get to know Carl Ferlato, who's a stalwart in big projects. So when you guys want to think big, lots of gravel, lots of heavy machinery, big, stupendous projects, Carl is your man, and he's back in our Rotary Club. So we're looking to, great new endeavors here. This is perfect timing.
There you go, Carl. You're here for a couple of meetings and you're already getting signed up for stuff.
I was gonna say, it's gonna come back, all that work I did on Montana Creek and some of my bridge background.
Right out of Rotarian.
All right, last call for questions.
I have a comment. So thank you for Ryan for the presentation, and especially thank you for the work on the Ann Coleman Trail. I use that trail a lot and I hike down it with my dive gear, and it's not been fun hiking with 100 pounds of gear on your back in ankle deep sucking mud. So we really appreciate the work you've done. The whole dive community does. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I have another question about trail jurisdiction. One time I remember writing to Trail Mix before you were on board there, Ryan, and saying that Dan Muller needs this and that, and they said, "Oh, that's not our jurisdiction." So, can you give just a 20 seconds on that or something like that? Might be more complicated, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So Trail Mix serves Juneau's trail system. So I'm sorry for that feedback. So just for some very broad background, and I could talk about this forever, so I'll try to keep it short. Trail Mix was really born out of the 1993 Trails Plan, when everyone kind of looked at the map of land ownership and jurisdiction and said, gosh, this is such a checkerboard. It would be great if there was a nonprofit that could really work between these land management agencies and ease some of that, those kind of jurisdictional issues or the kind of not my problem attitude. So we're always very excited to work on anytime there's a question or a complex, there's an RS-2477 easement, but it's private property. And what is the issue? Dan's laughing. I think he knows exactly which project I'm talking about there. We're always excited to tackle those complex jurisdictional issues. So if you ever have a question about that, Dan Moeller is on the managed by the Juneau Ranger District. There's a bridge out on that trail if you're going up to the cabin, so be careful. We're always happy to dig into that stuff. And yeah, that's my 90-second answer there.
All right. I don't see any other questions here. So thank you, Ryan and Kate, for coming this morning. We really appreciate you getting up early and joining us here. So thank you for everything. And I'll remind the Anchor Club